Hello everybody, welcome to Artistic Zeal Productions. We're going to recreate a floating text in a video shoot. So what we did is this tutorial that we taught at a class and showed how to recreate some text that would look like it's in the field. There's a lot of videos out there with some great tutorials that I myself have taken advantage of and learning. So I was asked, how did you recreate that? So we're going to do that today. So as you can see here, we have the AE class canceled and starring Nally Tao, and if you can see here, it looks like the text is floating around in that space as she walks around it. Now I'm going to show you how to put that in there really quickly with the tracking, but I'm not going to rotoscope out all that extra work. That will be up to you guys if you want to do that. So as you can see, it looks like she's walking behind, and then as she comes around, it rotoscoped out that little part there, so it looks like she went in front of the text. So we also have a little bit of shading here from the trees, so you can see that just to give a little bit more realism. And then as she walks by, there's a shadow that we have to recreate a shadow here so it looks like it's covering that part of the bottom of the starring Nally Tao. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to do a little bit of tracking, and then you can plug in whatever you'd like. It could be an object, it could be text, it could be whatever you want to do. So let's get started. If we go over to our After Effects panel, you can see I already have it open, and I also already have some footage. Now if you'd like to bring in some of your own footage, you can do that. I'm going to create a brand new composition, 720 by 486. The footage I have is actually a much larger scale because I shot it in HD, but we're going to try to keep it minimal, so we're going to bring that in to our comp here, and then you'll see that it's super big. If you press the comma or the period on your keyboard, you can zoom in and out. You can see that it's much too big. So I'm going to right click on our mouse here. And I am using a PC, not a Mac. For those that use Mac, I'm sorry, I'm not too familiar with it, but PC, if you right click on it, you can go into transform and you go fit to comp, and it'll adjust the size so it fits your screen here. So now we're going to zoom in a little bit. Again, if you hit that period, it'll get you close, and you can see our footage here is for about 20 seconds. I'm probably going to shorten that a little bit. Now you can see there's a lot of shaky movement. What really sells your floating text is if there is a little bit of movement in there, because it makes it more real. If you have it on a tripod and it's just static, it's a little bit harder to sell, but if you have it floating around, you move your camera around a little bit, what we're going to do is track some spots on that footage, and then that way it'll look like it's part of that shot that you did. So what we're going to do is we're going to just do a few seconds. I'm going to stop right when she walks out here. And then as you can see this timeline here, we have some sections. If you click on this work area, you can click on here, shorten it up this way. I'll go to the other side. That little lever there, you're going to shorten your timeline. And I think I only want to do a few seconds so that way you guys can see it and it's easier to render and work with. So we'll go 10 seconds, 12 seconds. We'll do it 12 seconds or so. And we're going to go to here. Again, I am using a PC. If I right click on it, you have different options. I want to trim comp to work area. So now we're only working with that little area we selected. So as you can see, there's our area here that we're working with. So the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to have to track the area here. We're going to put two spots on there. On the right hand side here, you'll see that there's a tracker button. If you click on that tracker button, it'll show track motion, stabilized motion. It'll give you different options. What we're going to do is click track motion, and it's going to give us a point. You can see our track point 1. Now we also want to work with rotation. So we click on that one, it'll give us two spots to track. Now another quick tip, if you hold down the spacebar on your keyboard, it'll give you that little hand so you can click and move around the area so you can see different spots that you want to track. So we're going to track an area right about here. This is where I'm going to put that text. If you click inside the square, make sure you don't click on that little plus sign. That's your, I guess, I forget what they call it, your point, but if you click right onto the side, you can drag that over to an area here that you're going to track. So it likes to look up at contrast. So when you're looking at this, it'll have a white and red spot, and it'll show the area. If you can open this up a little bit, it'll track a little bit more, a little wider. the area that you want to track. The second spot, same thing. We're going to grab that, move that over to another point. Let's say it was right about, let's say it's right here. I'm not sure if that's going to be a great tracking spot, but for now, let's just see if that'll work. Okay, so what we're going to do, if you look down here on the right side, it'll give us an options to track forward. So you have analyze one frame at a time, or you can move to track forward. We want to make sure that those things are staying in the same spot. If they start to move around, we'll stop and clean it up a little bit. But it seems to be tracking it fairly well, as you can see. I'm sorry, it's going to take a little bit. Depending how fast your computer is, will determine how fast you can track. But we're just going to go all the way through this whole section. Once it tracks it through. The thing about After Effects is that this is just one part of tracking motion. There's something also called Mocha, which is a much better system to record. But if you're just getting started, if you have a CS3, CS4, or CS5, what I'm using now, you are able to use the tracker that is built into it, and it's a very great system to use. Now, as you can see, it's already tracked it, and it follows the movement. As you can see, the little frames. We're going to go ahead and go up to Layer, select New, and we're going to go and create a Null Object. So if you click on Null Object, it's going to give us this adjustment layer. Well, it's not an adjustment layer. We can attach our tracking to that Null Object. So once we are done, and we like what we're going to do, we're going to hit Edit Target, and it'll say where do we want to put it. We're going to put it right to that Null Object, the first one we just created. Hit OK. So now we're going to apply, because we do like the way it's set up. We found out where the target's going to be. Hit apply. I'll say X and Y values. Yes, we do. And there we go. Now, if we scrub through here, if you click on their timeline and drag through, you can see that that little box, that red box, is not moving. It's stuck on that same spot where it's been tracking those 2 points that we created. So that's really what we want. So we want to recreate that little spot there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a text. So let's hit text, that little T up there, and I'm going to put something in here, and if I learn how to spell, tracking spot. Okay. Now let's adjust the size on this here. We're going to make it a little bit bigger. Let's just say it's that. We'll hit OK. We're just going to hit Enter, and it'll delete it. Let's not do that. Let's go back. Okay. So we got our spot. So we're going to grab that spot here and move it over right about here. Let's just say it's kind of the idea of what we had in that little example. Now what we're going to do is we're going to link, we're going to parent this tracking spot over with the null object we just created. So there's two ways you can do that. You can click the pick whip here and drag it over to the null object and then let go, and as you can see, the parent is now the null. Or if you'd like to, you could just hit that drop down and select who do you want to parent. Again, we're sticking with that null object, and as you can see, once we scrub through, it looks like that spot is tracking that little area. Now it's got a little bit of movement, but you can get the idea of what we're trying to do to make it look like it's floating text. Now you can always move that over if you wanted to have it a little bit floating on top here. So if you wanted to recreate that part where she's walking in front of the text, you can see that it's kind of floating in there, and then once she gets around to the front of it, you're going to start to rotoscope out, and that's using masks such as this one, or you can use a pen tool to create a mask around a certain area, and that'll get rid of parts of your text. But we're not going to do that in this tutorial. This is just to show you how to put that text on there and make it float around. So you can also, remember, you could put objects, you can put a variety of different things, but as pretending she's walking by, as she walks by, you can just make her go in front of that, and you can animate that mask to make it move around. And as you recall, when we did that little video, we also had her name down here. We just took 2 points of this cracked paint chip tier area. We also rotoscoped out or removed with mask the little sections that were there, so it looks a little bit more realistic, like there's a paint missing from the title. And again, this is just tracked in the area, so you can see that that is the recreation that you're building here. So hope you like this tutorial. This is one of the first ones I've created, and I hope to get more out there so that way we all, as independent filmmakers, and we'd love to learn new things and hope we can make it easy for everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.